Hi there, how you doing? My name's Steve. I was born mixed race in 1955. My father was the immigrant son of a Burmese doctor. He was instrumental as part of a team in the setting up of UNICEF in the 1950s. I grew up in England's southeast and had a modest education, but I've learned a great deal by paying attention to the world around me, even the bits I don't like. I feel compelled to make this video to open a few eyes to what's really going on and what's going to happen eventually. Have you ever wondered why over the last 3 decades the EU has not added many wealthy nations to the membership? In fact, I'm not sure they've added any at all over the last 20 years. Also, why all the applicants seem to be poorer peoples with weaker, failing economies and crumbling infrastructures. Well, it's simple yet very, very clever. What the EU leadership or Commission is doing is building up strength. By adding only or mainly highly dependent nations, they are securing votes at the decision-making tables in Brussels. Just like a drug dealer, they are getting the weaker nations hooked on massive funding for infrastructure, businesses, healthcare, education, etc., etc. Then the lifestyle gets better for these people, just like a high. This is the key to getting their votes at the legislative table. Now, every time an amendment is proposed, that adds to the stripping of the wealth from the richer EU members and filling the coffers of the funding committees. It is certain to be passed, because the membership is heavily on the dependent side. They are funding addicts and cannot exist without the EU. This is a classic but well-proven method of grabbing power and control over a group of people. Use your junkies as your political muscle. Now they are also planning real physical muscle with an EU army. They will have the power to enter EU member states and quell any dissension or uprisings. Now that Britain has shown that it has the nerve to challenge them, the EU, with a referendum, it is quietly quivering behind closed doors, because somewhere around 30% of the money they've been dishing out to their junkies has come from Britain's membership fee and the huge additional bills they keep sending us, and our government keeps paying. Now they are faced with a huge drop in their source of revenue if Britain decides to use it to build up their own infrastructure and businesses. All of a sudden there will be a huge black hole in the EU's finances. That will have to be filled by France, Germany and maybe a couple of other wealthier nations. That's why the French woman that runs the IMF is strongly opposed to Brexit, along with Angela Merkel. Eventually the EU will go bankrupt and start to implode. They have no choice but to beg for deals with anyone that will listen. And the USA, the IMF and every financial power in the world is panicking about having to give billions to Brussels in financial aid to keep its businesses and economies afloat. Everyone thinks we will trigger a string of referendums, but I don't think the EU will implode before those before those referendums even happen. This is and always has been a grab for power. Lastly, if you think that voting in will help Britain, you're sadly mistaken. We and others in the EU are already sending money to 5 new member states to help them with their EU applications. Not even full members yet, but we're already turning them into funding junkies. That's another 5 votes against us at the table. We really, really need to get out. So please wake up, Britain. Get down to your polling stations and do what we have to do. We've got to save our country. We've got to cut loose all the dead weight around our necks. Thank you.